Hello and welcome along to Mondo Channel About Movies. My name is John, and this video is going to be a look through the complete 101 AGFA series on Blu-ray. Now, I've been meaning to make this video for quite a while. The reason why I'm doing it now is because that most of them, but not all of them, are in a sale at the minute. I think you can get them for £8 instead of 15, and they're well worth picking up if you like this sort of movie. Now, when I go through these movies, I'll tell you a little bit about what I think of them. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen about 10 of them, and I've had a great time with most of them. And do know what you're getting yourself into when you watch this series. But I think this is a great series to get if you're a fan of B movies, if you're a fan of so bad they're good movies, if you're a fan of trash, basically. But the main thing for me is I just love this presentation in this collection. The slipcovers on them are fantastic, and I have a great time with them when I watch them. And I've just watched two of them today, actually, two of the discs. Now, what you do usually get in this release is you get two movies. You get the main movie, and you also get a sort of subsidiary movie, which is kind of pertinent to the release. These movies usually get released two at a time, every couple of months. There hasn't been one released for about a few months now, so that means I think there's going to be some coming out quite soon, hopefully before the end of the year, because I know they've got a lot of titles in their catalogue. So I'll go through these in the way that they've been released, number one, number two. They've got no numbers on it. I mean, I collect them all, but if it had numbers on, it would make it even more that I wanted to collect them, but I would have collected them anyway, if that makes any sense. So the first one that was released was Effects. Now, when I saw this on the shelves, I knew nothing about it, but I saw this cover and I thought, I'm interested in that. And what I've done with these ones, they've usually got some alternative art, and I've swapped it over. Usually the alternative art is quite strange. Sometimes the art on the actual release is quite strange. And what it does is, as well, is you've got to take this with a massive pinch of salt. It says it got a new 4K scan. Now, I didn't know what I expected this movie when I put it on. This movie looks like trash, and it's from 1980, actually. Get some information on there. Region B locked, they're all Region B locked at this point. I haven't tested them out on my other Region A player, but I do think they are Region B locked because I know these get released in the States as well. A lot of these get released by Vinegar Syndrome, so if you want to save yourself a few quid and get these ones here, it'll save you a lot of money because this is probably released on Vinegar Syndrome for a lot more money than £8 if you can get it for that in this one. Now, this movie here, it has Tom Savini in it, believe it or not, Joe Pilato, who was in Day of the Dead, and John Harrison from Tales of the Dark Side, the movie. Now, this movie, when I put it on, I thought, yeah, I'm going to go with this one. When I put it on, I couldn't believe how bad the quality was, but I kind of just thought, well, it is what it is, because I say it's such a hard movie to get. And I'll put them up, I'll hold that up there, but I don't know if you'll be able to see it, because sometimes they don't come across very good. But this movie here it's a strange movie. It's really low budget, and the acting in it is okay, it's acceptable. But I do think that when I watched it, I didn't like it that much. And I did get the other one with it, and I'm glad I did because I might have just left this one on the shelf and not went back to any of these movies, and I've had a great time with some of the other ones. But this one is kind of when you've got to watch the full movie to actually know what it's on about. When I was watching it, I thought this is not making a bit of sense to me. But when I watch it back, when I actually got the end, I thought, that's what it's all about. This is the one I would urge you to get in the sale. Don't pay full price for it. I'm glad I've got it. So that's the first one there. That's Effects. The second one was a classic, in my eyes, Lady Street Fighter. Now, this is Rennie Harmon. That's her there. She is a great actress. And I say great actress. I think she's a great actress, but she's quite bad. Her accent is terrible. She's got a thick accent, thick German accent, and you can tell when she's doing her lines, she struggles with most of her lines. This is an action romp from 1981. It does say it's got another movie on here. The bonus movie on here is called Revenge of Lady Street Fighter. And basically what it is it's just Lady Street Fighter. And they're talking about it. And there's just a complete load of flashbacks to this movie. So you're not seeing anything new apart from Rennie Harmon, probably 10 years later, from this movie, just talking about what that movie was. Says, I remember when I was chased by that person, and it would show you that bit of the film. And it's bizarre. It's definitely a one watch. The sequel, but this movie here, it's so funny. The action in it is laughable. It's got a terrible. It's a 2K scan, but the picture quality is awful. And I'd never ever heard of this before. I know that Rennie Harmon's been in a video nasty, and I'm struggling to think which one that was. But I think the guy who actually directed this, he might have done the video nasty as well, directed it. But this is a great film, and I would love to see that movie, turn up on this series. So that's the second one. That's Lady Street Fighter. The next one is a one that I'd never heard of, but a lot of people had heard of. It's the McPherson Tape. This is a found footage movie. It's quite good actually. It's really cheap. Does it say it's a new transfer from the original 3.4 master tape, which basically means it's a videotape. What they've done is they've got a videotape, they've done this found footage film of this sort of alien invasion kind of at this place. And to be honest, when I watched it, I thought, you know what it is? This is quite a good movie. And I think there's a great behind the scenes story about this movie. I think a lot of people did actually think it was real when it came out. I think they marketed it very well and it came across like that. And it's I mean, it's just a videotape, I'm not going to shatter anyone's illusion to say it's like the new Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's not. But this is a really good watch, and it's quite an interesting watch as well. And it's one of those ones that's kind of, you put it on, you think this is probably going to be trash, like I've done with most of these, and think, you know what, that was a decent watch. So that's the third one. That's the McPherson Tape. The next one was a real classic, Jungle Trap. This stars Renee Harmon again. I think it's directed by the same bloke who done Lady Street Fighter. It's got another movie on here called Run Coyote Run, which is basically just a rip-off of this film. And also it's got a bit of Lady Street Fighter in as well. So it's not a waste of time. It's just laughable. This movie is absolutely brilliant because it's so bad. I think the movie was filmed, that's a great cover, that. This reversible art. I think this movie was filmed on a shoestring budget. The scenes where they're doing this in this jungle is definitely someone's house or someone's back garden. And when they go into this kind of hotel in the jungle, the hotel is basically, I bet it's just somebody's tent in a back garden. It's so laughable. But this movie it's got everything going for it. It's got this ridiculous story where they've got to find this skull. And Rennie Harmon is a real good adventurer. And there's a really strange backstory to when her husband, is kind of brings along, they have the split up, and he brings along his latest girlfriend. And there's this really awkward bit in the whole film of them two who can't stand each other, but they've got to work together. It's quite a good thing to put into an exploitation movie, like this bit of backstory, but it works for me. But as far as bad movies go, this one is right up there in a good way. That's Jungle Trap. The next one was Zodiac Killer. Now, I'm a big fan of the sort of true crimes and the Zodiac Killer. Who is he? Now, I haven't watched this movie, and this has got another movie on called Another Son of Sam, probably to do with the serial killer Son of Sam. And this is from 1971. And I think the premise behind this movie was that they were going to put this movie out and they were going to they were going to make this movie like to say, oh, we know who the Zodiac Killer is. And they were trying to entice the Zodiac Killer, the real killer, into the cinema to watch it. And there they would strike and get him because he would kind of reveal himself as if. So that's the story behind that. Can't wait to watch this one. And it's a really bad quality movie. The other one is as well. And I haven't watched them both, but I would really like to see this one. Love that cover as well. Cover, should I say it? That's a good cover as well. It's great because even though this is probably a cult classic to some people, when these movies came out, I have never heard of any of these movies thus far. I think there's only a few in this that I've kind of heard of before. And I think, where do they get these movies from? I think this AGFA company they try to preserve these movies because they think they're going to just get lost. And some of these are really like, I don't know how they've even got them on the screen, and they've done all these remasters on them, but they're not remastered for me. But it's so good to have these ones. So yeah, interested to see that one. I might actually watch this on the October because I'm watching a few of these in October. So that's the Zodiac Killer. The next one was a real good movie, She Freak. Now I heard of this movie, and I heard a lot of people talk highly about it. Now the quality on this, it does say a 4K restoration, and this looks beautiful. It's immaculate, but it is a really low budget movie from 1967. This one is a one that's basically, if you've seen the movie Freaks, is kind of like a rip-off of Freaks. It takes place in a fairground, which is the scene that I love in movies, fairgrounds. And when I saw it, I thought, wow, I'm really glad about that. I'm really glad I've cleaned it up. I don't know how they've cleaned some of them up. It's probably just due to the illness. Probably there's no elements in this that are worth like remastering, but they remaster them, but I don't know how they do this remaster. I think it's got some extra features on here, but I can't actually see if there's an extra movie on there. I'll hold that one up there. And yeah, this is one of the best ones. Like I say, the picture quality is absolutely amazing. That's She Freak. The next one is a movie I haven't seen yet. It is God Monster of Indian Flats. Yeah. The special effects on this are so laughable. It's unbelievable. This God Monster, whatever that is, it is like that. It's so laughable. And when I put it on, I think this is 1973. This just looked a blast. And they have got oh yeah, The Legend of Bigfoot, 1975. That's another movie on here. Now, I heard a lot of people talk about that one, and I've seen a lot of people mention it. I think that's kind of like a documentary about the legend of Bigfoot, obviously. And is it got something to do with the fact of that the famous Bigfoot, the famous Big, Michael,
Where's me ladders?
the famous Bigfoot home video that was shot? Where is it real? Is it not real? They reckon that the bloke was in the suit. This come out and said I was in the suit, and people think that he's telling lies. Quite fascinating. I don't know if that's to do with this, but I think it might be. This is it. That looks a great movie, and this one as well. It just looks so preposterously daft that it's high on my watch list. That's God Monster of Indian Flats. What a title! Next up is Drug Stories, the Scare Film Archives Volume One. I've watched most of this movie, this like trailer. What they do is they've got trailers to do with, they should take them into schools and say, they should put them on the TV and they would say, right, you watch this and this is going to scare you off taking drugs. And some of them are just so ridiculous and they're so of the time. You wouldn't believe some of the things that are said in here. If you take drugs, this will happen to you. And the things they're saying will happen to you are the most crazy things. They're blaming loads of things on the fact of taking drugs. It's absolutely nuts. But when you get this one, you get the whole thing in the movie, and you also get the chance to be able to see them the bits separately by themselves. I think you get some extra footage as well of these information movies. I know I've seen one. I've mentioned this before. I've seen one before on a movie I think it was called Death Scenes 2, and it was of ones where they had automobile crashes of kids in cars, and they were so graphic. They were proper real aftermath crashes, and they used to show them to people in the sort of teenagers of the American youth to say, "Don't race your car too fast." I know it sounds glamorous, but you'll end up like this. And there was some carnage in that movie. There's nothing like that in this, but that's the type of thing that used to do back in the 50s/60s, I think that is. But a really good, interesting movie. It's one of these ones you can just throw on, you can just get lost in. I like these ones with like little snippets of movies, little snippets of information films, a bit like Charlie says. So that's Drug Stories. Next up is my favorite one in this series. It is Treasure of the Ninja. I've talked about this lots of times. This is from 1987, and you do get some extra movies of his which are equally as bad. This movie has to be one of the best, so bad it's good movies of all time. It is so awful. You just wouldn't believe what you're seeing. And I'm going to say that, but I'm going to say that the fella behind this William Lee, he's a good martial artist, and I understand what he's trying to achieve with no money. Basically, him and his friends are just going out and just shooting some stuff, and he's got a kind of story with this, which is laughable. But the way this movie is edited together is the best thing about it because it's so awful. he's got this soundtrack on of helicopter blades whenever he sort of gets into battle. Haven't got a clue what that's about. Also, the whole thing is redubbed. It hasn't got any original sound in it, and the redubbing is preposterously bad. Can't begin to describe it. I've put some clips on my Instagram before, just to this movie. And if anybody is into so bad they're good movies, you've got to see this because it is totally inept in everything it tries to do. But saying that, this fella, he really did try hard to make this movie a good movie. He failed dismally, I'm going to say, but I've got to take my hat off him. At least he tried. And I think that he's had some bad health recently, but he's got over that, and that's great. And yeah, so if you're a fan of martial arts, you've got to see this because everyone who likes martial arts will obviously know about the bad martial arts movies. You also get the bonus movie Dragon versus Ninja from 1984. The picture quality on here is truly awful, but it doesn't matter because it just makes the presentation all that much better. That's Treasure of the Ninja. Highly recommended. The next one is The Curious Dr. Humpp. This is a movie from 1969, and it's a good movie. It's one of these movies that you would see on Vinegar Syndrome have this one. And it's one of those ones I would have picked from Vinegar Syndrome because of the title. Well, I'll not put that all the way up. And this is kind of like a comedy of sorts. And I think it's got an alternative. I think that one there, that bonus movie, is kind of redone version of this, more graphic. It's got a 2K scan. It does look actually quite good. The Dr. Humpp in this is a fella who decides to do a certain thing. And the way he does that is he goes and gets these women because he creates these monster people and he sends them out to capture these women for the thing he needs to get to do. Wow. So it's absolutely crazy, but it's a really good film. It's one of those movies that you think this could never get made now because of the subject matter, but a great movie nonetheless. That's The Curious Dr. Humpp. What a title. Speaking of good titles, next up is Sometimes Aunt Martha Does Dreadful Things, 1971. Actually, the picture quality is quite good. This is another movie that could not be made today. It's another Vinegar Syndrome release as well. I think a lot of these have been released by Vinegar Syndrome in conjunction with AGFA. So I'd imagine if you get this one, Vinegar Syndrome would have the same quality print, I think. And it's got another movie called The Drag Queen's Ball, which is a strange movie. I watched this one, and it's this person called Aunt Martha. Well, he's not Aunt Martha. He pretends to be the aunt of another fella because these two are on the run. So what they do is they hide like that. But somebody susses them, and it's about them trying to sort of get this money and get gone with the money and all the things that happen to them. But the fact is that everyone thinks that this fella, Aunt Martha, is completely legit, but he's obviously not. And nobody ever says to him, "Are you a man? That's a wig." You know, that type of thing. I just can't believe it. But yeah, it's a great movie and it's so funny. It's one of those ones where you can't believe what you're watching. But I like these movies, these offbeat movies that you would never ever see in a million years unless you've got your eyes on a certain type of range that are introducing you to these movies. So that's Sometimes Aunt Martha Does Dreadful Things. What a title to remember there. Next up was Wicked World. I haven't watched this one. This is from 1991. Some of these movies from 1990s are quite good actually. And this one, I think this one's probably shot on very low budget. I've watched a bit of this movie. I need to go back and finish it off. And it's funny because the things that's like the wording of some of the script in here is unbelievable. You think that a lot of things are of the time, and this really is of its time. I know it's 1991, but the way that the people are talking in here and the things they're coming out with are really close to the mark. But it was of its time. But somebody makes a movie and it's like that. That's just the way it is for me. It doesn't mean that I've got to go back and say you must cancel this movie because I'll never ever do that. Because I think that every movie deserves to be made for what it is. But it is really low budget and very strange and very kind of like a bit out there. That's all I can say about that. I think it's got some bonus stuff on here, but I can't see what it is. I don't think it's got any extra movies. The presentation, I just think they're absolutely brilliant. I just think they're so good. They're so good on the shelves. I just like looking at them. They really catch your eye. When people come in, they say, "What's them?" You say, "Well, you probably would hate every single one of them, but I think they're absolutely gold dust." Wow. So that's Wicked World. Next up is Smut without Smut. I watched both of these movies, two movies in here. I think they were so good. And yeah, volume one. So I reckon there's some more coming out of that. Things to Come is meant to be set in the future, a dystopian future, and it's really laughable. And the Dirty Dolls, actually, this is this band of women led by this bloke, and they're just absolutely awful. These people on here, and they sort of get some people in, they hold them hostage and stuff like that. Things to Come is supposed to be about the future, and the main thing is about this thing is that in the future, in this movie, you can only see you can only see violence on the TV. That's all you can, and people go crazy by watching this violence on the TV, something like that. But it's really funny because they have ripped off completely Autobahn by Kraftwerk, the album, and they've got loads of the music on there. I don't know how they could do that. Obviously, Kraftwerk probably don't know about that. These are from, I think, Things to Come was 1976. You can tell there's a lot of rollerball into that influence in that, and Dirty Dolls is from 1973. Great titles, great movies. Then next up is the one I've watched today. Actually, it's Scary Tales. I'm not going to tell you much about this because I'm going to when I go and what I've watched on the month of October, I'm going to talk about these ones a bit more and tell you where I'll rank them in my rankings of the. Probably I'm going to try and watch 13 films. I'm quite nearly there, actually. This is from 1993, shot on videotape. Really, really, really low budget, but it was actually a decent watch. That's all I'm going to say about it at the moment. You do get another movie on here called Darkest Soul, and you also the follow-up to Scary Tales, apparently. And you do get so a lot of this director. You get a lot of his short movies as well, which are pretty bad to say the least. But it seems like seems a bit like The Evil Dead. All the actors and the director and all that, they all work together. So you can see all the people are popping up in different roles in all these different films. So that's Scary Tales. Also, another movie that I watched today is Scary Movie. Not that scary movie, but this scary movie. I put this on and I thought, yeah, it wasn't really getting us. It's if you've seen the movie Hellfest, this is like well, Hellfest come out a lot later than this one. This is just like Hellfest on a zero budget. It's so absolutely laughable that they've made this movie. It does star this guy here who was in Eastbound and Down. He was Dustin Powers, which I think it's called Dustin Powers, which is Kenny Powers' brother, and he plays a good part in this. But I was watching this and I thought, nah, it is what it is. I don't think it's one that I'll watch many times because Hellfest is a brilliant film. The twist in this movie is one huge payoff. I was blown away by that. And the thing I like about all these releases here as well, you don't get any on the side and also on the front. They are stuck on, but you can take them off. The age certificates on here, you only get them on the back. You don't get them spoiling what I think is the artwork. That's another thing I like about them. They're quite unique in that way. Next up is Wakaliwood Super Action Volume 1. This is movies, I'm going to get this wrong, I think. Is it from South Africa? Uganda. And these are really, really low budget. And I think they're shot in videotape. Don't think they're shot in film. From 2010 and 2016, one of the newest ones in this range. I think they are dubbed over. You get two movies here, Who Killed Captain Alex and Bad Black. And I think they're there must be blaxploitation movies, but yeah, an interesting watch, no doubt. And it's ones that I'm going to watch, obviously, but I wouldn't watch them in the month of October because I don't think horror movies, I think more like action movies. So that's Wakaliwood Super Action Volume 1. What a title. Next up is The Sword and the Claw. This is a movie from, is it Turkey? I think it's from Turkey. It's from 1975. And look at that cover there. I mean, some of these covers are laughable. Imagine that going to the cinema to see that. I mean, that cover is a brilliant cover there. It's one of my favourites. Does it have another movie on? Yes, it has. Brawl Busters from 1981 on there. This is, I would imagine, like a really bad martial arts movie. It's a 4K scan of the only 35mm print in existence. Now, that speaks volumes when I say that. Notice these films were fueled by love and created by DIY equipment. Please approach the technical quality of these transfers with empathy. That'll tell you a little bit about what you're going to see, but I don't mind that. I think when I get these ones and it comes across like a really bad quality copy, I don't mind that at all. Now, like I say, some of these are in for £8 and they're well worth it. Most of them you'll still see in HMV with the slipcover, which is great, because I think one of the best things about this series, is the slipcovers. I think they just speak to me. I think the spines as well, just absolutely brilliant. So yeah, this one I'll get watched really soon. That's The Sword in the Claw. And the last one here, which will be number 18, is the AGFA Horror Trailer Show. I love stuff like this. These are just horror trailers, obviously, and they're of really bad quality, which you would expect. Every trailer compilation I've seen, the quality on them are absolutely awful, but I think that adds to the charm of these presentations. Also, you get the AGFA Horror Trailer Video, and the trailers for video tapes, which were shot on video, if that makes sense. And this is from 2020. This is a new compilation of obviously crazy old movies, and I just think they're great just to put on. They probably last for quite a length of time, but I think they're great to put on in the background. And obviously, when you get to watch these things, there's always movies on there, and you think, I've got to see that movie. And sometimes you can track these down. Maybe these are type of ones that are coming out on Vinegar Syndrome, and you can watch these ones. You can go, right, I'm going to go and get that from there. Maybe. That's the whole lot of the series thus far, the whole 18 titles. I highly recommend them, but do know when you get into them, they're going to have really bad transfers on most of them. Most of the films are going to be so bad they're good, but I find them highly enjoyable and I think they're highly collectible. So, thanks for watching. You take care, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers.